Hey guys, it's Tim. Today I want to go over a few things about police scanners, the way security guards use them, the hazards about using a police scanner, and some positive things as well if you're listening to the radio. And the number one thing is be aware that listening to the police scanner and hearing the calls might make you a very unpopular person. And if your goal is to one day become a policeman and get out of security, then this is not something that you're going to want to do. And I'll give you an example that happened to one of our guys here at our security agency when dealing with police scanners. And let's talk about what a scanner is. A police scanner is either a handheld one like this, or sometimes they're mounted permanently into the car. And nowadays it's just an app that you can download on your phone off the App Store, and you can log into it and you can hear the radio traffic about what's going on. And here in Springfield you can download the police, sheriff, even the fire departments and the rural areas as well. And you can hear all the different things and emergencies that are happening around town. And that's not actually a good thing for you to do. For one, if you're out patrolling and you're listening to all this, it's distracting you away from doing the job and being alert and being situational aware about where you're at and what's going on, because your head's in the scanner and listening to that instead of handling the calls and radio traffic that the security agency has. And two, it can make you very unpopular with the policemen, because when you're on the calls, these guys get to know you and they talk about you. There's not a lot of police officers in the community. It's a very small circle, and these guys all talk and know who the different security officers are. They classify them as good ones and bad ones, along with companies, good companies and bad companies. And you want to be known as a good one if you're looking to become a police officer, because they're going to see your application come through. Let me tell you about something that happened recently with one of our guards. I still have a lot of friends that are policemen, and we're hanging out one night, and they're like, hey, let me ask you a question. I was like, yeah, what's going on? They said, one of your guards, and they gave me his name, and they said, I'm afraid that he might be listening to the police scanner and chasing police calls. And I said, okay, what makes you think that? And he said, well, most of the time when we're out on calls, we'll see your officer drive by and take a look and be in the area when we're out on the call. And the other night we were on a call and he actually beat us there. He was driving around the area before we even got there. And it makes me think that he's chasing police calls, and you may want to have a talk with him. And I said, okay, sure, I'm going to check it out. I'll see what's going on. And when we got back to the office, I pulled up his records and his GPS record, and sure enough, he's in areas that we don't even have accounts. And when you line it up with some of the police calls, he was in those areas around the same time the police were being dispatched to him, and that is extremely dangerous. He was using the app on his phone to do this. He was listening to everything, and while listening to that app, he didn't realize that that app is a little bit slow. The app isn't real time, so it's very hazardous to do that, because say that you hear that the police officers are out maybe on a foot chase, or maybe they're out checking a car, and next thing you know they're in a gunfight. Well, here you come, not hearing anything about that because there's a delay, and you're rolling up in a security car, and guess who's going to be part of the gunfight and not want any part of this, and that would be you. So that's dangerous. You don't want to do that. You don't want to get into that kind of habit, and it looks very poorly on you, and it affects your company as well, because it makes them look poorly for having you out there doing that. So please don't do that. It's going to affect your reputation. It's going to affect the reputation of the company you work for. And another thing too, the hazard of that could be really grave. Here you are in a dangerous situation with a police call. Now, where you could use that in a positive light is if you hear a police call going on, like a traffic wreck or a fire or something that's going to draw a lot of attention. It's a good way to stay out of that area. You hear it's going on, intersections are going to be clogged up in that section of town, so you just stay away from all that. The worst thing is whenever there is a scene like that, it attracts everybody. All the flashing lights, people come from everywhere to drive by and try to get a look, and they rubberneck their faces, the necks around, trying to see what's going on, and they may have their cell phone out and they're recording what they see. The next thing you know, they crash into the car in front of them, and there's even been some head-on crashes where they crash into another car while trying to do all this, and now there's another wreck and a scene that first responders have to tend to, and you don't want to be a part of that at all. So it's best to just stay out of that area. Now, for this officer that did that, we questioned him about it. We said, hey, did you go around, listen to the scanner and go into where calls are? And he said, absolutely not. I would never do anything like that. Well, the evidence shows otherwise. And, you know, if you do something as an officer, just own it. Your bosses are going to be a lot more willing to work for you if you'll tell the truth, especially if they already know what the truth is and you want to lie to them about it. And we had to write him a reprimand. It goes in his file, and someday that's going to come back and bite him, because he actually wants to be a policeman. So if that goes in your file for us, we'll warn you. We say, hey, the first time, we're just going to write you a reprimand. Do not do it again, and if you get caught again, you will lose your job. We're going to have to terminate you if you continue to do this, because this is an issue that we don't want brought against us. We don't want that kind of reputation. And whenever he actually applies at a sheriff's department or PD, they're going to send the background investigator around. It's going to be a detective. He's going to come out. He's going to say, hey, let me look at this guy's file. These guys do it all the time. We have background investigators from the Highway Patrol, from even some federal agencies have showed up. The police, the sheriffs, they bring their detectives out and they said, hey, we want to take a look at this guy's file. He put in an application with us. And we're like, sure. So we get the file out and they'll go through, and they're curious about if you've been late, if you call in sick to work a lot, or if you got reprimands. They want to see what those reprimands are, and a lot of times they ask for copies of them, and they take copies for their background investigation on what has happened in the past. So if that's what you want to do, if your goal is to someday become a police officer, then you need to be a really good security guard, because they're going to base that on you. You need to take your job serious, go out there and do the best job you can do every night, and that will walk you into the career, because if you look at the recruitment page for these departments, a lot of times they said prior security experience preferred. So with that, it would be talking about good experience, not bad experience. So look that over, do a good job, and for the main part, please stay away from these scanners. Another positive note is if you just want to hear how the radio traffic, if you're off duty and you're listening, you can learn a lot from the scanner. In a department, if you're interested in going to work for them, you can hear the amount of calls they get, the type of calls they get, their lingo, how they talk, the phonetic alphabet. You get to pick up on that and start using that. And those are some of the positive things, but when you're out patrolling, just keep the scanner off. Don't listen to it. And if anyone's going to listen to it, have your security dispatch center be the ones that monitor the scanner. They could hear that there's a fire or a wreck in an area that you're patrolling, and they can broadcast that to you and just tell you to stay away from it so you can stay out of there and not become part of that traffic congestion. So outside of that, I hope you guys have a great night tonight and be safe out there. Stay caffeinated, and we'll see you in the next video.